Hey, everybody. I am Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Let's see if we can get this thing fired up here the correct way. There we go. Well, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to do a whole lot of reading of messages, but I do not have a light in my face. I don't know if you can tell the difference in how we're doing the lighting, but this is a very different very different lighting arrangement, and there's no large light looming right in my eyes. I do have a cat, however, that wants to knock everything over. Come on, squirrel. Tighten up your game. Not on the computer. Not on the computer. Sorry. She's always good for a little cooperation. Thank you, squirrel. Get in the basket. Well, thanks, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. And I appreciate Heather Joy and all of the efforts that Heather has been doing to keep the boat afloat, so to speak. She's been excellent. Yeah, it's so hard to try to read the comments. Really unfortunate. All right, today we're going to be talking about a subject that you could almost look at this the same way you look at ants. Automatic negative thoughts. Some of these things we actually say out loud. We utter lies to ourselves on a regular basis. And some of them we internalize, and they kind of become a mantra, or they become part of the thing that defines who you are. And it probably gets a little bit more frightening when your makeup is actually built around a lot of these lies. And some of them seem innocuous, right? Some of them seem like, I guarantee you, when I read you, I got the top 10 list. And when we start going through this top 10, I would be astonished if there's not people on this boat who say, well, that's odd. If there are not people on this boat that say, yes, indeed, I have used every one of those lies at one time or another. I am losing power. And I'm not exactly sure why. Let's see here. We're troubleshooting on the fly, peeps. We are troubleshooting. Oh, I know what it is. Hold on, folks. Oh, I'm guessing. No, I could be wrong. Well, that is really odd. Hopefully. Wow, we are in deep trouble with power here. Okay, well, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see how long this goes, Pete, because apparently, oh, you know what? I bet I'm slick. Hold on one second, people. And all right, we're back. Sorry about that. There is one of those light switches on the wall that actually puts power to one of the two outlets. So when I saw the lights coming on, I assumed that the wall switch was on. But what powers this whole setup here comes off of the bottom of the two outlets. And that one apparently is run on a wall switch. And earlier today, somebody came through my house and hit every single light switch in the entire place. I'm not exaggerating. You've never seen anybody tour a house like this guy. And a great guy. I did a tour at 10 o'clock this morning. A gentleman came over, absolutely fascinating human being. Guy that is an inventor and a doctor, done a lot in his life. Met Stephen Hawking's. Some of the stuff that Stephen was able to do, obviously he had Lou Gehrig's disease, and that keeps you from using, especially in the advanced stages of it. He couldn't use his hands to operate a computer or do anything like that. He was basically to the point where the only thing he'd use was his eyes, the ability to blink. And this man built a pair of glasses that you basically can train with how fast you blink, the repetition and all of that, so that he could surf the internet, he could write letters, he could do all of that stuff just from a pair of glasses that he was wearing. Absolutely fascinating. And so he took a tour of the house, and he was here for about an hour. The two of us just talking. Actually, believe it or not, I wasn't even talking. I was listening. Guy's fascinating. But he then said, can I come back with my wife and my daughter? So they came back again at about 2:30, and again stayed for a good long time. And I'm hoping that these people end up being the people that buy the house. First of all, they're really nice, and I've got great neighbors here, and it would make me happy if if they got somebody that was a nice person. And that's believe it or not, that's actually a big deal to me. It may sound silly, but it is. And that would also be off my plate. And the more you can narrow things down, right? It's kind of like setting a goal, getting through it, taking it off the checklist, that kind of thing. Of course, there would be a goal immediately afterwards. Let's start getting this thing ready to put on a truck and ship out of here. But one step at a time. So do I look like I'm squinting less? Can we get some fives up there if you notice that I'm not doing the Clint Eastwood thing? The reason you do not see the normal view of Tucson, Arizona behind me is the green screen requires a pretty hefty amount of light in order to make it work correctly. So you don't get the little, where you sort of fade in and out. It happens a lot. They call it sound. It happens a lot on the outside of anything that, and with the lights, I think I see a 5x5. I do. Thank you, guys. So when I use a lighter background, it requires a ton more light. And the way I have the lighting set up now, none of the lights are in my face. But if I use a light backdrop like the one that we were using with the saguaro cactus and the view of Tucson, it just washes out, and I kind of float in and out as I move. It's just not a great setup. So we're going to be experimenting with different backgrounds. I have a beautiful presidential seal that I was going to use that actually says Johnny Scoville for president on it, but couldn't get that one queued up in time. I was having some issues with it. But that's coming, because I know that will really frost my brother's tips. So that might be fun. All right. Number one on the top 10 list of things that we tell ourselves that are untrue. And these are things that short circuit happiness, and most assuredly short circuit success. Number one, not my fault. This is one of those things that we begin saying at a very, very young age. And if you have siblings, you say it probably more than would a single child, because anytime something that happens in the house and there is blame to be assigned, then a chorus would come up at once of all of the kids trying to make sure that mom and dad knew that it wasn't their fault. Not my fault. Not my fault. And we take that all the way through adulthood. And it's fascinating how often I hear people say it. We've had the 2 years that the lifeboat has been afloat, close to 2 years now. We've had squabbles on the boat. It's, if you have a YouTube channel and you have no interaction between you and the audience, and you only put up videos, you don't go live, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of that. But if you put up a lot of content and that content is live, then people have the opportunity to meet one another and fire things back and forth at each other. And every once in a while, someone will say something that crosses the line, or they say something where, somebody seems offended. And then people start going back and forth. And occasionally, as the guy that sits in this chair, I've had to kind of step in and say, what are we doing here? We're a bunch of it. And without, what do you think I get? My fault. He said this first. No, she said this concept of fault is a ridiculous one. And if you think logically, if there's no disagree with me on this, fault is an absolutely ridiculous concept. Who cares? Honestly, unless you're in a court of law and facing a a 15-year prison sentence, and the question at hand is whether or not you did something, what difference does fault make? It really doesn't. However, there are people who choose that battlefield. That's a place that's the field that they choose to die on. There have been so many relationships, whether they be husband and wife or business relationships or anything like that, that literally go away based on somebody's indignation of the fact that, what's going on around here is not my fault. The business is going down like the Titanic. And instead of bailing water as fast as possible and trying to come up with a game plan that will keep the business afloat, they go to the lowest common denominator. All right, well, we may be sinking, but I guarantee it's Johnny's fault. Had nothing to do with me. It's pretty sad. Start making mental notes of these things. One of the nice things about listening to a presentation where people point out things like this is that even if I'm background noise, even if I'm just sort of talking while you're doing something and it's just clicking in the background, it's going to park itself in your subconscious. And you're going to find yourself someday soon going, you know what? It's not my fault. Just not worth fighting over. Doesn't really affect the outcome. Almost any time somebody says it's not my fault, instead of saying that, if you got rid of that phrase and instead substituted it for, what can we do to fix this? Every time you feel like saying, it's not my fault, if you were to just instead go with the, hey man, what can we do to fix this? Because it doesn't much matter at that point whose fault it is, right? You just want the ship righted. You want the business working well. You want the house to not fall down, whatever it is you're working on. So these are, by the way, in no particular order, but if I had to go in a particular order, that would definitely be in my top 5. How about it's not worth it? This is another one of those phrases that gets used an awful lot, and it is never used correctly. It really isn't. So if you think about like the etymology of the phrase and you start breaking down these words and what they mean when you string them together, right? Forget it, man. It's not worth it. The way that gets used all the time is, you know what? Don't punch that guy in the face. It's not worth it. Or I'm not even going to spend any more time in this argument. It's not worth it. The correct way to use that would be, how much are you asking for this? I'd like $400 for it. Really? Because they retail for $350. This isn't worth it. Not worth what you're asking for it. But it's one of those phrases that over time has become just an expression, right? It really bears so little resemblance to what it is supposed to mean. But we've just adopted it as one of those things as if to say, I'm better than that. I'm better than all that. It's not worth my time. I'm going to waste my time on that. I waste my time on that argument. It's her fault. I'm not even doing this anymore. I'm not wasting my time with this. But it's another one of those things that short circuits anything we're trying to do in our lives or in our business or anything to be successful. It's astounding how many of these lies that we tell ourselves do the exact same thing. Doesn't really matter what the phrase is. What it does is it cuts down on communication. It makes it very difficult for the party you're talking to say something, right? It's kind of conversation stoppers, and it does absolutely nothing to address the problem that you're dealing with. Forget it. I'm wasting my time. It's not even worth it. Trying to explain things to people, it's not worth it. What something is worth is a decision that every person has to make. But if you're ascribing that to a person, right, or to an organization or anything that you at one time believed in, then you should probably evaluate what you're saying. Think about it before you pull the trigger. We've talked a lot about how words mean things and about how so often one of the most dangerous weapons that we have as people is our mouth. The ability to say things that leave permanent damage And often the stupid things that we say to people without thinking about it, right? We just blurt it out, pull the trigger, and then at a later date go, you know what? I bet that really hurt. I bet I said, what I said it was stupid. And I bet that left the mark. By the way, that would be a really good time to call that person and say, you know what? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. It's stupid. At which point they're going to go, forget it. You're not worth it. Right? Moving on to the third one, people. The third one is, I don't have a choice. Say that one every once in a while. I don't have a choice. I do not have a choice. So are you going to do that? I have to. I don't have a choice. How often is that true? Honestly, how often is that true that you don't have a choice? Take it from me. I spent a good chunk of time in the land of you don't have a choice. And even within that world, you have a choice. The choices are limited. And if you make the wrong choice, bad things happen. And then they ship you somewhere else where bad things will happen. But in the real world, out here, I can't think of too many situations that you could find yourself in that you don't have a choice. You have to do something. And it's one of those things, it seems all of these seem like, it's why such a big deal. It's not a big deal. Because if you keep telling yourself over and over and over and over again that you don't have a choice, so you're going to keep working for somebody that's paying you, $3 an hour less than everybody else is making. I don't have a choice. I got bills. I got this. You don't have a choice. So you're with him forever till the end of time. You'll be in there working for this guy because you don't have any opportunity to go anywhere else because you don't have a choice. You have a choice to do every single thing you do on this planet, whether you realize it or not. You're going to stay with that person? I have to. We've been together this long. I don't have a choice. In every single thing that you do, you have a choice until you give that away. Until you voluntarily give away your choice by saying ridiculous things or thinking ridiculous things. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to. I have to. You have a choice in almost everything that you do. Literally, almost everything you do. Now, some of those things should not even be a choice. Taking care of your kids. People walk out on that responsibility all the time. Still a choice. It's a bad one. It's a rotten one. It's a horrendous thing to do. But even on something that important and that sort of ingrained in who you are, there's just nothing in our life that we do not have a choice. And we make that choice every single day. That's what determines who we are as people. Your morality, right? All of the things that identify you as you. Those are decisions made every single day when you get out of bed. Those are the choices that you make. And dropping these kind of lines will destroy that. Yeah, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. You just keep narrowing the mindset and narrowing the mindset and narrowing the mindset. You don't have a choice. You got to do something about this. Nah, it's not worth it. These are things that we gain speed. We really do. We gain speed on these. You just start doing really stupid things. I don't have a choice. It's not worth it. And you know what the worst part is? It's not my fault. My boss is a jerk. He should have been paying me more money a long time ago. You got a choice. Get out of there. Go find another place to work. Maybe start hunting before you quit. Right? It's always good to have that set up so that you can walk in and say to your boss, you know what? I have a choice. And I'm not working here anymore. You know why? Because I'm worth it. Don't for a second convince yourself that any of these things are anything other than lies. You have a choice in everything that you do. Number 4 is one that absolutely drives me insane. And we've talked about this on the boat. I don't know that I've ever worded it the way I'm about to, but one of the things that we tell ourselves constantly, whether you realize you do it or not, and some people are so obvious in how they do it that I know when I say this, I know there are people on this boat who are instantly going to think of a couple of different people. I promise you. They're going to go, "Ooh, you know what? That reminds me of." But you ever meet those people who will say nobody has a harder life than them? Nobody. It almost becomes a badge of honor, right? I've had the hardest life on the planet. No one's had a harder life. And God forbid somebody tries to say something about their past. That person's going to up them. You know, I'll see your car accident, and raise you getting shot in the thigh or whatever. There's always that thing that made it impossible for you to get out of your own way. You see, by uttering phrases like that, no one's ever had it harder than me, or keeping that attitude that my life is harder than that person. It's an excuse. It's an excuse to fail. It's an excuse to get high. It's an excuse to not be the best that you can be. Damn good one too, isn't it? For real. If you can convince yourself that no one has it harder than you. We've talked about it a lot on the boat. The phrase, I cried because I had no shoes until I saw a man that had no feet. Perspective. Perspective is a beautiful thing. But as addicts, very often we become so self-centered. And sorry, there's no other way to put it. Or self-centric even. You may not think you're the greatest thing in the whole world, but damn it, you're the center of the universe. You can dislike yourself and still be self-centric, right? Because everything in the world revolves around, or if it doesn't revolve around you, it's not important enough if it gets past that, in that little circle. My misery, my problems, all the bad things that have happened to me, hey, there's a thing going on. Nonsense. I'm not done complaining about all of the things that have happened to me that landed me where I am today. It makes you think that maybe you don't have a choice. Your life was so tough, I got no choice. Of course I'm an addict, right? I got no choice. You have a choice. And I assure you that no matter how bad life has been, and you know what? I'm not taking away from anybody on this boat. I've listened to so many stories, one-on-one in person with people whose lives have been incredibly difficult. I mean, people that you hear the story and you think the deck is just stacked against this person. But the greatest success stories on the planet are never the ones where we go, you know how much money that person made? Man, that person's rich. Or that athlete, that person made. No. They're the stories where you hear that person was working at Denny's, washing dishes, and was making X dollar, an hour. He came up with the idea of inventing this or doing that, or he decided to go back to school. And the next thing you know, person's a multimillionaire. We love that story of somebody that gets off the deck, gets up and starts fighting. There's nothing better than a redemption story. Nothing. But if you believe that you have it worse than anybody on the planet, you know what you've done? You've embraced the bad parts of your life. For real. They became your identity. I don't want to start over. I have a hell of an identity worked out right now. I don't want to make myself a better person. Then I can't claim the world's biggest victim. I can't say no one's ever had it this hard. When my daughter got yanked away from me, that was one of those things that I grabbed onto with both hands. I truthfully believed in my head that is the most painful thing that anybody could do to a man. To steal a father's daughter was just, what a great excuse to get high. What a great excuse. Honestly, even people that don't want you to get high look at that one and go, yeah, I can see that. It kind of makes sense. It's pretty tough. Really. You don't want to let go of those things. It's your pet reason. It's your favorite reason to get high. And if you got a lifetime full of them, like if you can rattle off the top of your head the 14 worst things that have happened to you in your life, and you know those people who do, and they have it in a pitch, they roll right from one to the next, to the next, to the next. What you focus on is what you will be. Your focus will determine your life. No two ways about it. And if you're telling yourself that you've got the toughest life that there has ever been, trust and believe it will continue that way. There has to be a paradigm shift, a complete paradigm shift. You can't deny your past, but you got to go like this. Take it and stick it right here. This has been horrible. And in spite of that, wait till you see what I do. Wait till you see what I do. Yeah, I had a tough start. But from here, I'm swinging for the fences. I'm going to get up. I'm going to do what needs to be done. I'm not going to look back. Or you can just keep talking about it. 5 more years will go by. 10 more years will go by. And you'll still be telling people about something that happened to you in 1982. That just gave you enough of a long-term excuse that, well, I can just keep getting high. I mean, can you blame me? Listen to this story. I've had it harder than anybody. And it's one of those lies that if you tell yourself long enough, I promise you'll start believing it. And that's really the danger behind that, is you will start to believe it. How about if I ignore it, it will go away? Sometimes it's not one of those things you even think consciously, but you really better consciously think about doing away with that phrase, because it just doesn't work. And we've all done it. We've all done it with a noise in our automobile, right? Or something on our body. I got this pain and I know I should go get it looked at, but maybe if I just pretend that I don't know about it, then everything will get better. I think I've told the story on here before, but if you go back last century, it was the Reagan administration. It's a long, long time ago. But I went to a dentist to get one of those x-rays done where they go around the whole rig and you just keep your head in one spot. And they wanted to take a picture of, to see if I had any molars coming in. And the last thing in the world I wanted was oral surgery. I had watched so many people get this and they got dry socket, and it looked like the most painful thing in the entire world. And I'll be honest, I just didn't really want to have anything to do with it. So the doctor, whose last name was Van Meter, and I know that because I was really close friends with his sons, both of them. But he gave me the x-rays. And before he did, he gave it that doctor thing, where he holds it up to the light. And he says, come over here, I want to show you something. He said, this is your molar, right? Molars go like this. This is my last tooth. My molar was growing this way. Literally, I mean, this puppy was coming in. I don't even know how it's possible, but it was coming in at an angle like this. And he said to me, this is impacted. It was the first time I had ever heard that term in relation to teeth. But he said, your wisdom teeth are impacted like nothing I've ever seen. And I said, so what does that mean? He goes, they may have to break part of your jaw to get this stuff out. He said, this is going to be, I said, well, when do you want to do this? He goes, oh, I can't do this. He said, no, this isn't my kind of work. You need to go to an oral surgeon, and you need to go to a good one. He's going to knock you out. He's going through all of these things. He's like, your face is going to be bruised. And I was like, you know what I mean? I'm like 16 or 17. This just didn't sound cool at all. I had just finished getting braces on that had really, really awful. So on the way out the door, I took the x-rays and I threw them in the trash can. And then I just walked out. And I ignored them and just said to everyone who asked, yeah, I said, no big deal. They're not even starting to come in yet. I guess we're cool. So my wisdom teeth, still there. They're still there. But that one that came in this way literally drove this one out. Just pushed it completely out. Well, it pushed it to an angle that was so bad and the pain was so ridiculous that in a really great decision late night, in unbelievable amounts of pain, I shot a little cocaine in the inside of my mouth myself, and I removed that tooth with a vice grip. And it was horrific. By the way, I got the infection anyway, because when I removed that, there was a big kind of open hole, just, and I put cotton in it and did all that. No luck. Got an unbelievable infection in my mouth. I'm lucky it didn't take me off the planet. But the whole thing was, if I ignore it, it'll get better, right? A leak in the roof. Maybe it'll just stop raining, right? Or maybe it was just that one rainstorm and the rain was just kind of coming in at an angle. But if I just forget about it, the next time it rains, we'll be good. Trouble is, we do that in our life. In every aspect of our life. There's that one little thing that needs to be addressed. Now, for the rest of the world, who cares? No big deal. No big deal. You have an unresolved issue with a friend. You and a friend talked about something and he said something that cut you deep, that really hurt you. And you kind of wanted to say something, but you didn't. And you think to yourself, you know what? The guy's a jerk. Just not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm going to go and talk to him about this. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Besides, it's his fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. He should come to me and apologize. Not having anything to do with that. Trouble is, with normal people, they walk off and they might really say, yeah, you know what? It's an argument. Who cares? It's over. And then they just move on with their lives. But we're addicts. And if you take a little grain of anything and you do not treat it, in an addict, it will not become a pearl. It will just destroy the entire vessel is what it will do. That one little thing will just be pushing at you, needling you, from the back of the mind. Becomes subconscious, but there's something back there that is unresolved issues. And I'll tell you something, people, do not leave unresolved issues. Can't do that as an addict. It's one of the reasons that I keep yelling, hey, you know what would be a really good idea? Huh? It would be a really good idea if you wrote everything down at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. Journal. Because that little thing in the back of your head, that little voice that's bothering you, you're going to end up writing about it. Whether you realize you're doing it or not, you're going to end up writing about it. And then, you go back. I tell everybody at the end of the week, go skim through the things that you wrote. If you see a recurring theme, chances are what's bothering you. You have an issue that could very well begin to fester, right? It very well has the ability to get infected, like an infection in the mind. And if you don't do something about that infection, really, really bad things will happen. I think everybody's in agreement that untreated infections are a pretty ugly thing. It's not something that you really want to take a chance at. And in the mind, it's even worse, people. I have cat hair all over my face. Right before we went live, Squirrel actually came up here and just sort of wanted to get at the green screen and stuck her entire body on my face, literally standing on my shoulders and then trying to get her paws up on the top of my head. Great cat. She really is. Maybe not the best behaved cat, but she's a lot of fun. So, number 6. I'm too old. I do this all the time, people. I really do. I'm too old. Or you can go the other route. I'm too young. I don't know that too many people on the boat are saying that, but it is another one of those things that we say. It's another example of an excuse to keep us from having to attempt things. And I do it all the time. I'm more guilty of this one than anybody. And some of it's legit. You know what I mean? If somebody says, Tommy, I'm thinking of taking up skateboarding. You know what? Oh, I wish I could read this. Yankee. How long did Yankee Kyle say that he has been sober for? That either says 25 or 35 years. Congratulations, Yankee Kyle. That is awesome. That really is. That is a really, really good run. That really is a great run. God bless you. Ever hear that, everybody? What's possible? That is amazing. Buddha, I just saw BS. I'm sorry. I promise I need to get some stuff done with the eyes, and you guys have watched it happen. When I first started, there was no problem in reading these comments. And now I've got them blown up. I can recognize the avatars, but the words, even if I squint like do my Clint Eastwood thing. Yeah, I apologize. Although, hello, everyone. Please send positive energy as I have not been well for days. Everybody hear that? JJ, I'm sorry to hear that, hon. Thoughts and prayers for JJ, people. That would make me happy. That really would. Appreciate you. So yeah, I mean, this is one I fall into. And there's legitimate reasons to say, you know what, I'm probably too old for that. But see, I say it around things like computers. Someone says, I could teach you that. It's not even like programming. If you can run an app, you can do this. And I go, you know what, man, I'm too old for the computer thing. That waved bye-bye a long time ago. And it's something that I really need to stop doing. Thank you so much, Ilea. I really appreciate that. Ilea says, stopping by to show some love and to tickle the like button. You know what? Ilea also does a ton of research for the boat. She really does. If there's something out there, chances are she's going to find it before I do. And she sends over some great stuff that's going to end up in a show shortly. I promise you. But thank you so much, Ilea. I mean that. It's appreciated. So the too old thing, there are times it's legit. If somebody comes over tomorrow and says, hey, I brought a skateboard. Can you do a kickflip? I don't know. I mean, I suppose I could give it a shot. But trying to learn a kickflip on a skateboard at 53 doesn't sound like a really, really good idea. What do you think? Should be out there trying to do that? The rest of you ready to learn tricks on skateboards at our age? No. You're going to end up breaking an awful lot of things. Wow. 7 Son had a friend that pulled out 2 healthy teeth. Yeah. No, I would not do dentistry on myself after drinking. Nothing good could possibly come of that. Nothing good could possibly come of that. I'll tell you, when I pulled the one out, it was one of the worst decisions I ever made in my life. The only reason I did it is because the pain was so excruciating that I couldn't chew. I couldn't do anything. It was just, and no matter, that I was strung out at that point, but no matter how much dope I did, the dope was just acting like a painkiller. It was almost like you couldn't get well, if that makes sense. I'm sure there are some people out there that makes sense too. The vast majority, maybe not, but there are some people that don't get that. So the too old thing. It's not that you can't say you're too old. Just don't BS yourself. Don't lie to yourself about it. If you don't want to start doing something on a computer, say, I don't like feeling stupid. That device makes me feel stupid. So if I'm going to learn it, I'm going to have to do it with somebody that I really care about. And I'm going to have to do it someplace where I'm not on the spot, because I can't stand feeling dumb. Those are the honest things. I am going to reach out to people until I cannot. Full of hope. Thank you. I'm, you know what? I think that's probably kind of what I'm doing too. It's reaching out to people until I cannot. It's, and I think we're running out of time, people. I really do. I think we're running out of time. 7. I never judge people. This one made me laugh as I was writing it down because I wanted to write, I never judge people. Like Johnny. He does that. Because that I think is really, really funny. I think that is really, really funny. Because honestly, very often when we talk about the fact that we don't judge people, it's usually because we're saying that someone else does. So we're judging someone in the process of saying that we don't judge. I don't judge people. Johnny does. But I don't have a day job. But thanks for that. I appreciate that. I don't know if I've told you this, people, but I don't really like Johnny. I'll tell you some Johnny horror stories in the coming up in a little bit. I absolutely will tell you some Johnny horror stories because you guys think that you guys think that Johnny is a really nice guy, and he's had you snowed for a really long time. But I don't think you can imagine just how badly he treated his younger brother. Mark, glad that you're here. I was tortured as a child. I don't know that I could tell that story. My brother is well known for eating peppers, and if you've been on his channel for any length of time, you probably know that the very first pepper that uh, I ate at a very very young age. He likes to try to tell you I was like 16 when it happened, but I was closer to 4. When it went down, and um, that happened while Johnny was sitting on me and literally forcing this thing into my mouth. When I was trying to close my lips as much as possible, he would plug my nose, and then when you sort of had to take a breath, he would just shove it. Yeah, just a really mean older brother. He really was. And someday I'll tell you why I'm claustrophobic. Johnny? Okay. Number 8. I think we do this. I think a lot of us do this. You know what? I was 4. Don't let him lie to you. Maybe 8. See, he'll just keep adding years onto it. He's not honest. No, you were 8. I was 4. Anyway, follow your heart and it'll all work out. Right? Have you ever had that advice? Have you ever told yourself that? If you just follow your heart, everything will work out. There have been times in my life where no part of me was giving good counsel in any way. He says, I deny these something, but Joanna says that, Joanna, the reason I couldn't kick his butt is because I was 4 and he was 8. So the difference between a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, the difference between 8 and 12, like I probably would have put up a fight at that point, but 4 and 8, no, I was in no position to defend myself. He would have had a hard time sitting on me at 8 and holding me down to do that. He's not honest. He's not. He had a little like a toy box / storage space that had a blue door on it, and it had a drawer in the middle of it, but it was maybe 2.5, 3 feet deep, and I would say honestly, it was probably a foot and a half tall, maybe a foot and a half wide. Yeah, see you guys later. That's right. And he locked me in it. He did. True story. He locked me in it. First, he tricked me somehow into crawling in there. You think you could fit in there? You can't fit in there. There's no way you could fit in there. Man, I don't see it. You couldn't fit in there. So then he shut the door on me and locked me and walked away. But I got out. I did. I removed that thing off of its hinges. But it took a hot minute. I have forgiven him, though. Truthfully. I stopped hating Johnny for this, I don't know, about 45 minutes ago. No, I just, you know what? Occasionally you just got to tell the truth, though, because he's got this, hey, I'm the nice pepper guy. And see that? He was not very nice. Now the rumor's starting to get out, and I'm very happy about that. It's important that the truth be told. It is really, really important that the truth be told. Oh, wow. Charles had a worse brother than Johnny. That's absolutely unbelievable. Did you hear that, people? He was getting him stung by yellow jackets and punching him until he vomited. It's a tough ride right there. But anyway, if I'm right, it looks like a little pumpkin. I did it in one bite and gulp for $50. I'd have paid $200 for the pain to stop. My brother will tell you exactly what pepper that is because he's a weirdo. Nice. Crazy Cat, you had a brother that's brotherly love right there. Wow. His brother was already stealing booze and running out to the. Was I drinking? I wasn't drinking. Yeah, you know what? I might have been. Yeah, I don't mean daily, but That was another thing, when you got a brother that's 4 years younger and you come across booze and you think it's going to taste nasty, you get him to drink it first. Here, Tommy, take a shot of this. Seriously, just throw it back. You'll feel weird. No, you know what? Honestly, after a period of time, we ended up being being very, very close. Probably closer than any two brothers. Just didn't start out that way. Not true? Okay, yeah. Maybe we don't get along. No, we do get along. He's all right. He's a pretty good guy. We don't get together as often as we should. It's probably one of my only real complaints. Full of Hope terrorized her nephew. She look, you know what? I didn't terrorize anybody. I was just a nice person. Yeah. The occasional bank teller. A drug dealer or two. Might have been a couple of people that I wasn't nice to, but that was then. Have I ever been mean to Linda? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think we probably terrorized each other, sadly. Number 9. Have you ever talked to somebody and they're one of those people that just doesn't ever seem to have a smile on their face, and you start thinking to yourself, this person just does not seem all that happy. And if they're in recovery or there's somebody that you care about, you're going to start trying to cheer them up a little bit, and you start, hey, what's up with you, man? It seems like there's been a few days that you just kind of seem like I'm just not a happy person. Never heard that one? Well, you know what? I'm just not a happy person. Keep telling yourself that crap. For real. Do you guys know what a mantra is? Seriously, you know what a mantra is? It's when you continue to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And the purpose of that is to program your subconscious. It's to turn your mind into a machine so that when you're not thinking or when you're doing something over here, that sub below, right? Sub rosa below. Okay, so the subconscious, that part of your brain that isn't even on, because we say all the time, right? Two things can't be in the same place at the same time. Make no mistake. Your brain can do two things at once. It can't have an individual thought and another individual thought at the same time. That center of the brain, that part but you can still be listening to music at the same time, right? And it's still programming. Hell, you watch people sing. Right? They're singing a song word for word while they're working on something. Works on a separate kind of the brain. You understand what I'm saying? But your subconscious is in the back doing things at all times, saying things like, you're not really a happy person. You're not really a happy person. You got somebody, a little man in the back of your head telling you that you're not a happy person. You're not a happy person. You're not a happy person. Guess what? You're not going to be a happy person. Stop saying things like that. I know I've said it many times on this boat, but I used to just say, F my life, but I would say that. That was I said it constantly. I said it if I lost a hand in poker. I said it constantly. And it got to the point where that's really kind of what happened. You know what? Full of Hope, that's actually... she's not shouting. She just made the text bigger so that I can read it. That's actually it's not such a bad idea. It used to bug a lot of people. Johnny used to bug a lot of people. But I don't imagine you could have said anything to me to make me stop doing it. But what was I doing with my life at that time? I was effing my life at every turn. At every turn. I had the screw-its. I didn't care anymore. Now I do mantras. How's that? Silly? I do it. I honestly do it. I sit and chant things. I mean, not screaming, but I repeat them over and over and over again. And I have never said anything like, I'm just not a happy person. I say things like, you're happy, you're successful, you will get what you're trying to get, you will take care of people, right? I'm good enough, and doggone it, people like me. No, I don't do the Stuart Smalley thing, but the one that when I first got out of prison, it was you are not a loser. You're a winner. You're a winner. You're a winner. I spent so much of my life telling myself that I was a loser. It's going to take years of just saying, you know what, you're a winner. I do it looking in the mirror. Sounds silly as hell, doesn't it? Try it. Try it. Give it 2 weeks. Do it at night before you go to bed, and then do it in the morning when you wake up. You know what you're telling yourself. You know what your inner voice tells you that it shouldn't. I'm just not a happy person. You're a loser. Nobody likes you. Whatever that ant is, that's always beating the crap out of your brain. Write the exact opposite and start using it as your mantra. Start doing your daily affirmations. Right? If you're uncomfortable looking in the mirror, don't. Start that way first. Positive attributes. There you go. There you go. I just put my name down under mild wuss. You know what? Here's the thing with peppers, and this is my brother's expertise. But here's my 2 cents. All right, because I think it's worth throwing my 2 cents in. Who cares if you can eat hot ones? Find the pepper that you really dig the flavor of. Find the hot sauce that you really like, both the heat and the flavor of, and stick with it. Spice is great, but some people like to push it a little bit, and it's like anything else. A tolerance will build, and then you gotta go a little tougher. Affirmations. Thank you, Jennifer. I do affirmations. I do them, and they're important. They really are. Whether you believe it or not, they're important. For me, I had to continually tell myself, "You're not a loser." It's what happens when you spend the majority of your life telling yourself that you are. You got to combat that. You have to come off of the deck, and you have to combat that, which fortunately I have done. But I did it through rote repetition. I did it through saying affirmations. And there have been times in my life where I stopped. Like when I worked with Q, I did it every day because I didn't like lying to the guy. And when I would come out in the morning, he would say to me, "Did you do your affirmations?" And I'd have to go, "No." Well, you should probably go back in there and do them. Oh, you want to hear something cool? I tried telling Johnny this on the phone, I think like 3 times, but we get sidetracked when we talk. But positive affirmations rewire the brain, and kind of quickly too. I agree with you. They're fantastic for you. Fantastic, right? Get your subconscious going. So as you all know, there's an attorney taking care of trying to get me off of my service to the federal government. They're going to get my supervised release terminated. And there is in the lawyer's office is a paralegal, maybe, or maybe she's I don't know what her title is, but my case is assigned to her, so she is handling all correspondence. And I told her the story of the lifeboat. You kind of have to, right? Because they want to know if you've changed. And if you look at my file, you guys would not recognize who the person in that file is. So I was telling the story of the lifeboat, and I told them from the beginning, how I got sober. I got sober in prison. And, the program that I teach here isn't mine. I didn't invent it. It's somebody else's. And I told her about Q, and she said, "Can you get me his information?" And I said, "You're going to ask him about my case?" She said, "No. But this is one of those things that I do in my spare time." She said, "There are people in there that shouldn't be in there. There are people in there that are worthy of saving." And that's what she fights on. And I'm telling you, man, I was so happy. I was so happy. And I really hope that happens. Noah James, 98. Good to see you, Noah. Glad that you're here. Truly. Full of hope. Full of hope you missed it. That was a joke that is it's probably regional. So, but trust me, it was funny. Number 10. There are people out there who talk about perfection. And first of all, Do you think that there's anything in life that's perfect? Plato had a theory that there's another universe. And in that universe, whatever, everything, there is a perfect version of everything. So here we have a cell phone. On the other side, there is a perfect cell phone, the absolute perfect version of whatever the item is. I have a feeling the watches would be made by Patek Philippe. Just a thought. But there is no perfect, right? You always strive for more perfect. You always strive to be better than you are and to never really get to a point where you plateau. There's always one more peak. There's always one more goal. But there are people on this boat. There's people that I talk to all of the time who basically won't do something because it won't be perfect. And if it's not perfect, well, I thought about this, but you go to for a job interview. Everything was great, but they always find that one thing where it's not quite perfect, right? There's just that one thing, I really liked it, but their staff cafeteria was dirty over by the microwave. If you look for perfection, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life. If you look for damn good and then you do everything you can to make it better, that will be fantastic. It's a great way to live. It's an absolutely great way to live. But I promise you that perfection isn't going to happen, right? And those kinds of comparison, when you're comparing something to something idyllic that does not exist, it will steal your joy. It will absolutely steal your joy. Comparison always steals joy. It's why Facebook is so dangerous. That's why all of those social media platforms where you don't really see the real thing, right? You don't see somebody in their native environment. You see somebody who is showing you exactly what they want you to see. I, the myth, the man, the legend himself. Giggity. Yep, legend. You got it. You nailed it. Sorry I couldn't say hello to everybody individually today, but I love you all. You know something? I am looking forward to the day where it will be impossible to say hello to everybody on the boat. By that point, maybe I'll be in the comment section with you. That would be great. That really would be great. Alrighty, peeps. Use social media. Don't let social media use you. And you know what? Talk about someone that practices what they preach. If you've never been over to Miss Dragons and checked out what she's doing on the Big Red Button, you need to, because she does absolutely amazing work, and she is using social media to make the world a better place. Do I like peppers? I do. I don't. I certainly don't like them the way that my brother does. But my brother is, a legend and a bit of an idiot. I mean, have you ever seen some of the really gnarly stuff? This guy's not right. What he said more than anything else is that really hit home is that he's got issues. All right, people. That brings me to the top of the hour, and I am going to go get something to eat. I am trying to actually eat consistently 3 meals. The doctor had said something about really low blood sugar, and that was one of the reasons that I had trouble, not on the video, but the night before when I actually kind of fell down. So I need to start eating 3 meals a day. So I hope for all the boaters. Yeah, I like that. I love you all. Have a blessed night. I couldn't see the rest of that. All righty, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. Tomorrow in the morning, there will be another show. And you know what this is? Huh? What is that? You good kitty. That's a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. Squirrel and I, we love you.